Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I know I've been away for a while, but I'm back. First up, before I begin guys, I got sent this by Bot Importz. It is not a sponsored video. I did not get paid for this. They did send me this so I can review it, which is exciting. Just in case you're wondering, I'm all about supporting my local retailers, and I'm also going to give my honest opinion as best as I can. And thanks to toybotimportz.com.au, I have ZetaToys ZA01 Take Off, aka Blast Off. I'm going to call him Blast Off from now on, just easier that way. This is a prototype figure, that's why it's all grayed out. But if you check out Bot Importz website, they have a gallery there and they show you the colours that it'll possibly have. These toys are meant to be masterpiece scale, so it will be masterpiece scale combiner. Here's a quick scale comparison of MP10. He is a little bit taller. Now bearing in mind, Take Off or Blast Off is a limb. So can you imagine how big Onslaught would be if this is its limb? Can you imagine how big Bruticus is? He does come with two blasters, which you can't hide in his bot mode, but they do plug in his alt mode, and in bot mode he just holds it in his hands because there's no storage. Let's look at him in detail. He is very chunky. Although it's masterpiece scale, it's not G1 accurate. I think ZetaToys has gone for more realism, and you will see that in the alt mode. Now, one of the biggest issues with this figure, it's got a lot of fold up panels which make up the alt mode. If you look at the legs, you can see how thick they are. It's got all these panels that aren't hidden very well, and they just make up the alt mode. I personally think that they should have maybe hidden the panels in the leg, or in the leg part, since it's hollow. I like the side of the leg here. It has like what I think looks like missiles. They do look pretty cool. What I think also is that his feet are really cool too. If you have a look at the bottom, as you can see, the thrusters make up his heels, which is, I think, pretty cool. He does have pretty good ankle tilt as well, and toe articulation, which is pretty useless. His shoulders has two movements of articulation, as you can see. They do the usual forward and back movements as well as lateral movements. Another issue that I have with this figure is how big the forearms are. The forearms pretty much make half the nose cone of the Shuttle. Because of the size of the forearms, the movement is quite restricted. He does have a double jointed elbow bend, but because of the forearms, it's useless and limited. It does have bicep rotation, but the moment that you lift up the arm 45 degrees, it gets blocked and you can't really rotate it anymore. So it's a poor design for that rotation. He has ratcheted shoulders, really strong lateral, but all the other joints are just held by friction and they are quite loose. Now his fingers are articulated. They have a ball joint at the base of each finger. For a masterpiece figure, I personally think that they need an extra joint on the knuckles, or else they're permanently like this. Now speaking of the hands, he does have a swivel joint on the wrist. What annoys me as well is how easily the wrist pops out of its socket, just like that. The tab is quite small and it doesn't really hold it securely. What's cool with this is that it has a torso swivel as well as a waist swivel, which is pretty cool, and that adds rotation to its limb mode. The head sculpt I think looks pretty cool. It definitely looks like Blast Off, and it's got a nice touch of purple light piping. I really like the eyes and how it's got a menacing look. At the waist there's flaps here that allow hip movement. So you've got your lateral as well as your forward and back, and a swivel on the hip. It also has a heavy ratchet on the knees. But again, like the forearms, the legs are so chunky, the articulation is limited, but you can get 90 degrees. Despite the limitation on articulation, you still get pretty decent poses. It does what you need it to do. Now let's look at his alt mode. He does turn into a Shuttle. The transformation is quite intuitive. It is easy to transform, and the reason why I'm not transforming it now, because the connector, when it's a limb, the ratchet is just incredibly tight and I couldn't bend it without help. I will show it to you. I'll do a partial transformation when we get to the limb. But here he is in his Space Shuttle mode. His alt mode is quite nice. All the panels line up, which is awesome. I don't really have complaints about it. It is really, really clean. All the panels line up perfectly. Even at the bottom, it's clean. I guess that's why there's so many panels in bot mode, because they really focused on the alt mode. He does have landing gears which tuck away. There's 2 at the back and 1 at the front. And underneath, you can plug in his weapons. There's 4 slots, where you can plug them in. To be honest with you, there's not much anything else I can say in alt mode. To me, it looks perfect. Looking at his limb mode, where the connector pops out, I personally think it should have been on the other side where the bottom of the shuttle is. I'm not sure if that is accurate, but I would have preferred the top part of the shuttle to be on the outside. Here's a quick comparison of Fort Max's arm. So you can see this is going to be one massive figure. It's pretty much the same size as Fort Max's arm. That's another thing I forgot to mention, is that I didn't get any fists or feet with this, so I don't know what it will look like with the fists and hands. Now looking at the connector again for the limb, this is what I was talking about. This part is just so tight, it's just really hard. The ratchets are ridiculously tight. Now this is the connector point, it hides in his chest. You do have to push it all the way out and it pops out at the back. I am going to do this off camera because last time it did take me 30 minutes. Man, these fists just fists. These fists hold on. These fists pop out really easily. It's driving me insane. Stay! It was really hard to push out the ratchet connector. I struggled pushing it out with my finger. I ended up using the back of a screwdriver and just stabbing it in the chest and pushing it as hard as I could. Speaking of that, I thought I might break it at some point. The plastic is very good quality. I need to emphasize that I did put a lot of pressure on the torso to get leverage. Like, that's how hard it was to push out. But there's no stress marks or anything like that, which I'm really surprised with. Most toys, if you do that, they have stress marks. But with this, it didn't. So the plastic quality is really good. Now, this is what I'm talking about. This is so hard to just go up and down. I'm not exaggerating this. And at one point you think it might break, but it doesn't. You just literally, I actually still think I might break it, but it doesn't break. That just goes to show how good the quality of the plastic is. Now it's actually really hurting my fingers. To be honest with you, I do hope that they change the ratchet issue. Just make it a little bit looser. The transformation is quite fun until you get to that part. I do get why it is a strong ratchet, since it's going to be a big figure and it needs that support. But I think you can make do with just a little bit off. Just a tiny little bit to make it a little bit weaker. You know what? Now the ratchet connector is out, I can show you what the limb looks like properly. But see what I mean with this ratchet connector? That's the top part of the shuttle. I personally think it would have been better if it was attached like that way instead of that way, because this part's just flat and boring. Like, who wants to see underneath the bottom of a shuttle? One thing that annoys me are these panels right here. They are hidden away in bot mode. They hide in the cavity of the leg. But in limb mode, you collapse the thighs into the cavity and disappears. There's not really much room to hide these, so they just flap around. They do attach. There's like a little tab that attaches and keeps them secure, but once you push the middle part, it untabs. And it just looks ugly. That's my honest opinion. Now, here's the articulation as a limb. I think it's pretty cool because they added a ratchet where the hip is. And these ratchets aren't as hard. Like, they're still pretty hard, but it doesn't hurt you. And that obviously acts as an elbow. The forearm swivel is the waist of the robot. And the bicep swivel is the abs. or the torso of the bot. And there's also a little square at the bottom here, and I assume that's where the hands plug into. So final thoughts, guys. I think that ZetaToys plastic quality is amazing. The shuttle is just flawless, like literally flawless. The bot mode can probably do with a little bit more tweaks. Ratchet can be a little bit loose, but overall I think I like it. In bot mode it is super chunky, articulation is limited, but $69 from Bot Importz, that's pretty good. That's literally buying 2 Combiner Wars figures, and it's gonna be huge. It's just gonna be impressive. So if you're looking for a masterpiece scale Bruticus, this is one of the options, and I think go for it. It's 69 bucks, Australian dollars. So that's it, guys. I hope you liked this video. If you do, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, press subscribe. And also, if you want to follow me around on my social media, all the links are down below. Till next time, guys. See you later.